mouth again next month. He talks about, this is in Time magazine now. Time magazine, April, May 2000. A global challenge for the new century. I'm going to jump down to right here. And it says, in fact, our air and water are the cleanest that they have been in a generation, even as, you caught that, didn't you? Even as we enjoy the longest expansion of economic in our nation's history. So by 2000, they're saying we reached the apex or the height of what? Of economic prosperity. Is that right? So by 2000, they're saying we'll reach the height of economic prosperity. I want to put this up here. Now I don't want to wet your mind a little bit again. This is great controversy again. This book is powerful. Now watch this. It says, while appearing to the children of men as a great physician, who can heal all their maladies, he will bring, who's the he? Satan, right? Will bring disease and disaster until populous cities are reduced to ruin and desolation. Even now he's at work in accidents and calamities by sea and by land, in great conflagrations and fierce tornadoes and terrific hailstorms, in tempests and flood and cyclones, in tidal waves and earthquakes in every place and in 1,000 forms. Satan is exercising his power. He sweeps away the ripening harvest. You know, a few months ago, we had a rice shortage. Is that right? You know why we had a rice shortage? Cyclone that swept away the ripening harvest in Asia, just as it says. Now it says, swiping away a ripening harvest, and famine and distress follow. He imparts to the air a deadly taint, and thousands perish by the pestilence. These visitations are to become more and more frequent and disastrous. This has happened. Is that right? All right. Now this says, going on, 589, 590, great controversy. And then the great deceiver. That's already happened. Then the great deceiver will persuade men that those who serve God are causing these evils. The class that have provoked the displeasure of heaven will charge all their troubles upon those whose obedience to God's commandments is a perpetual reproof to transgressors. It will be declared. We can say now, it has been declared. I showed you the newspapers where this has already happened. It has been declared that men are offending God by the violation of the Sunday Sabbath, that this sin has brought calamities which will not cease until Sunday observance shall be strictly enforced. Or in other words, the national Sunday law. Now watch. Until Sunday observance shall be strictly enforced, and that those who present the claims of the fourth commandment, thus destroying reverence for Sunday, are what? Troublers of the people, preventing their restoration to divine favor and temporal prosperity. Now think. This says that when the national Sunday law is going to be passed, that they're going to declare that the reason why we must strictly enforce or pass a Sunday law is is so that we will not be prevented from being restored to what? Divine favor and temporal prosperity. What does restore mean? To bring back. You can't restore something that was never there. Is that right? So in order to restore divine favor and temporal prosperity, that means that first prosperity had to be there, and then prosperity had to go. And in order to pass the Sunday law, they will pass it so they can bring it back to restore it, which tells us that just before the Sunday law, the prosperity must be. But we saw that in 2000, they were saying that it was actually. But we saw that something has begun changing, because in 2008, it's not up, is it? We're in a financial crisis, which tells us that we're just before the time when it will be declared that the only way to bring back the prosperity, they're going to say we need a new deal. That the only way to bring back to prosperity is by passing a national Sunday law. Now, even a man that doesn't go to church on Saturday or Sunday, if he wants money and he hears that this is the way to get it, what will he do? He'll do it, won't he? Oh, my brothers and sisters, so let's understand the money tonight. The reason why Satan has deceived the world is because they don't understand this. And Jesus told us, go to Hosea 4, verse 6. Let's read that together. Hosea 4, verse 6. It says, my people are what? Hosea 4, 6. Are destroyed for a lack of. So the reason why we don't understand the economical crisis, the Bible says, is because of a lack of. And Satan, he's trying to make the economy so complicated that people say, well, I can't think about it. Let me just give it to the bankers. Let's let them think about it. We can't know anything about it. But do you know that almost 100 years ago, the common man knew much about money? But Satan is trying to complicate it today so that we don't understand it. But it's really simple and it's very interesting if you understand it. You know that generally today, there are only 4 basic types of money. What did I say? There are only 4 types of money. How many? I want you to say it with me as I write it down. The first is called commodity money. What did I say? The second is called receipt money. What did I say? The third is called, I'll put another color here. Third is called fractional money. What's the third? And the fourth is called fiat money. What did I say? Fiat money. F-I-A-T. So there are only basically in all of the world, basically 4 different types of money. And right now in the day, we need to understand where we are because Satan understands this and most don't understand this. Now, before when I studied in this, years ago, I knew the financial crisis was coming. But I thought years ago that it was going to start in the stock market. And I thought that the stock market was where the action was. And so because I didn't understand that, I began to a quest to start studying through the Bible and study everywhere where money was used to understand all about this principle of money. Because we need to understand, and I found out after studying, that the stock market is not where the action is. Stock market is a joke. You say, what? Yes, stock market is a joke. You know where the foundation of the money is? The foundation of money lies in the monetary system, which is the Federal Reserve System. That's where the action lies at. We need to understand what is the Federal Reserve, how does it operate, what does it mean, because the Federal Reserve did not always exist. Do you know when the Federal Reserve came into being? 1913. And this was a great crisis that it devolved on. And there were a great group of rich men that got together to put this Federal Reserve together. 4 great families. 2 in Europe, 2 in America. I want to ask you, who is the richest man in this world? Somebody say Gates. You think Bill Gates is the richest man in the world? Bill Gates is not even close. Now, he has more money than we have. But Bill Gates is not even close. But it's the men who own the money. Is that right? And whoever controls the money has the ability to control the world. Does the Bible say that? The Bible says that the borrower is the servant or the slave of the... So whoever lends the money is the master, and whoever receives the money becomes the... One of these rich men were asked, do you want to be president? He said, president? I choose presidents. So when we get excited about Obama becoming president, you don't really understand what that means, do you? Now, I'm not against Obama. I'm not against him. I'm not against any of the president or government. Most of these men are sincere, intelligent, but there's somebody that chooses presidents. The one who controls the world that has been operated by Satan. You must understand, do you know there was more money raised in this election than in the history of any other presidential election? I wonder where the money came from. The borrower is servant to the lender. A great change is about to take place, my brothers and my sisters. This lamb-like beast is going to speak as a dragon. And if we are caught up in the silken cords of affection, we are going to wander with this beast. And so today we must make our decision, because we don't understand, these families that came together, oh, brothers and sisters, I find myself talking, I'm looking at the time saying, oh no! Are y'all ready to go home? No. Now Now listen as we go through this money now. The Federal Reserve, these men that put this money together, these men, there were two in Europe, two in America. Who was the two in America? Rockefeller and J.P. Morgan. I heard a name back there. Who said that? I heard another name. What was another name back there? Vanderbilt. Now, he got his money from these people. But he was inside of this group. They had associates. But yes, these two families, at first, the Rockefeller and the Morgans, you know that one Time magazine in 1930 said, after one of the affiliates of Morgan died, they said that Morgan, by himself, his associates, that their money represented more than 1/6 of the world's money. One man and his family. That these four families together, they represented their monies, when they pooled these monies together, of just four families in the entire world, they represented more than 25, either between the average of 25 to 50% of the world's money. Four families. That's serious. If you understand that, that's very serious. Meaning four families can shake the whole world economy. And in Europe, as we said, it was Rothschild and who else? And the Warburgs. Paul Warburg and his family. They were the ones in Europe and America. They came together and they went to a little place called Jekyll Island, Georgia. I've been there before. And they came together and they met there with the development of the Federal Reserve, and they came up with this. Now, it's interesting. Well, I'll come back there in a moment. Now, there are four types of money. Now, when you understand where banking came from, then you will understand how these four types of money came from. Now, this is a crash course. I can't give you the details, but I'm going to make it simple so you understand it. It's very interesting. You know the modern system of banking, where it came from? It came way back hundreds of years ago there in Europe. And they had these goldsmiths. And the goldsmiths, they would take precious metal, because that's what they work with. The gold, the silver, the bronze, the brass. They would shape these precious metals and make tools. They'll make weapons. They would make buildings. They would do different things with this metal. So because they used great amount of precious metals, they would actually create vaults on their houses so that they could protect those metals. It makes sense, doesn't it? If you're going to have a bunch of metal because you work with it, working for other people, and you just have large amounts, it would make sense to have some way to protect those metals. And so they would have vaults or safes that were built to their homes so they could put their metals there, their precious metals, and protect them. Are you with me? Well, after a while of doing this, there were many who were becoming rich and amassing more money. And so they had the money, the gold, because the first type of money is what we call what? Commodity. Commodity money means it has intrinsic value. What does intrinsic mean? Inside of itself. Is that right? So commodity money is money that has intrinsic value, that the value is inside of itself. An example of commodity money is gold and... Now, you know the Bible, that's what the Bible calls that money. You know that, right? You remember when Judas was going to betray Jesus, the Bible says they covenanted to betray him for some money. And then later on it said, what did Judas do with that money? He threw what? What did he throw down, though? 30 pieces of... So the Bible classified money as what? Do you know gold and silver? Now, do you know today we have a different idea of what money is? Now, this is a basic four times. This is commodity money. This is the first money. But then we had something called receipt money. Now, this is what happened. Those goldsmiths I was telling you about. Then after a while, when these people started amassing the gold and the silver, they started getting so much that they started saying, well, man, if somebody breaks into my house, they can take what? So I better take this money and not hide it under the mattress, but I better put it where? Somewhere safe. So they went to these goldsmiths that already had these vaults built and these safe places built for their gold, and they created a deal whereby the goldsmiths and the warehouse said, we will take and protect your money and put it in our vaults for a little bit of money. Is that right? And they said, that's all right, because somebody can take it and I have no money, so I'm willing to pay a little bit amount of money if you will keep my money in safekeeping, my gold and silver. Are you with me? And so what they would do, because the bankers or goldsmiths would take this gold and silver, they would write everybody a receipt for what they had. And the receipt, so if you put 500 gold pieces in, they'll write you a receipt for 500 gold pieces. And then your receipt was as